Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahe Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahe. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Guru Sakshat Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Dayakaram Dayakaram Dantam Dharma Pravartakam Pranamami Dayanandam Madacharya-varam param. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Hari Om, Namaste to all. Before I forget, just wanted to say that I will be in India from Sunday. But the classes will not stop because we have, I will be recording the evening sessions for the UK and Europe, and they will be played at 8:30 on Tuesday evening and on Thursday evening. So your, the steadiness is not broken. The weekend I can do from Rishikesh. Weekend classes I will take from Rishikesh, but the evening classes, they will be played. Students have already arranged that. So please don't miss. I'm not there live, but still, I don't want to break your routine. It's very good at the moment. It's going on well. So that is one thing. Tomorrow, we're going to have the question and answer session. I have lots of good questions. If there is any other question you want to send by tomorrow, please send it to me. And maybe Smita can chant the Gita Dhyanam tomorrow. So Gita Dhyanam tomorrow. So today we're going to enter into a new section. And this is a very important section of the whole Gita, actually. This is lays the theme for a very, very important topic of Bhagavad Gita, which is unique to Bhagavad Gita. It does not come in the Upanishads. It is not there in many of the texts in Vedanta, because here Krishna introduces a lifestyle which is conducive for your discovering the self. So in the last class, we had seen Krishna had urged Arjuna to get up and do what is to be done. Previous section, he had tried to convince Arjuna from the standpoint of his duty, from the standpoint of his role, he had to do what is to be done. So he said, Yudjasva, Yuddhaya, get up and face the challenges and take the pairs of opposites as they come. Same kritva. So again, he's slowly sowing the seeds of Karma Yoga through the next verses. And the full-blown plant of Karma Yoga will come in the 47th verse onwards. But he's still sowing all the seeds. So when Krishna says, do what is to be done with the sameness of mind towards any type of result, how do we do it? How do we do this? That is where the certain attitude to our life comes into the picture. So until now, we had seen the path of knowledge mainly, when Krishna had said, don't worry, there's no need to grieve. From the standpoint of Atma, there's no need to grieve. So he had also said, from the ultimate standpoint, from the standpoint of knowledge, grief and sorrow are eradicated for good. See, you don't have to manage grief, you don't have to manage sorrow, but when you recognize yourself as Atma, pure, limitless consciousness, there is no grief or sorrow in that Atma. So now he begins a lifestyle which is conducive to discovering that complete and absolute freedom. He says in the 39th verse, Esha te bihita sankhye buddhi yoge tvimam shrunu buddhya yukto yaya partha karma bandham prahasyasi sankhye mayate abhita. He says, I've already given you this knowledge with reference to Sankhya Yoga. And we saw the second chapter is called Sankhya Yoga, the yoga of knowledge. So from 12 to the 30th verse, 30th or 31st verse, he talks about the essence of all the Upanishads, that the body can never be slain, that Atma can never be slain. Even on the level of body, we are recycled. The physical body gets recycled to the elements, and the subtle body gets recycled to another body. So the idea here is that there is no such thing as end. So Atma, we understand, self is to be understood. It is all pervasive, and this all pervasive self is called Brahman. So Brahman, Atma, you will see different names in different texts, but it means one and the same thing. So this was called Sankhya Yoga. He had introduced the essence of Upanishads. Now he says, tu, now, whereas yoge buddhihi, the topic of karma yoga, Imam Shrunu, listen to me talking about this topic of karma yoga. Karma, we have to understand, has different meanings in different contexts. When we say this is your karma, this is my karma, we're talking about my destiny or the results of actions I have to face. So karma is used in that sense also as results of actions. Here in karma yoga, it is not used in the sense of results. It is used in the sense of activity. It is used in the sense of action. So here, the main two components that make up karma yoga, which we will see more in detail, is proper activity in life. Proper activity is what? Proper activity, we know, is activities done in accordance with ethical values, ethical norms. That is called proper activity. And proper attitude, we are yet to see. This is where he is introducing buddhihi. When he says yoge buddhihi, he is talking about proper attitude. And what does this attitude do? Karma bandham prahasyasi. When you take up this practice, it is a practice. So with knowledge, we saw, is not theory and practice. Knowledge, you either get it or you don't. Knowledge is assimilation. Knowledge becomes you. But with karma yoga, it is a lifestyle to be practiced. Karma, action, activity cannot give you that self-knowledge because it is not opposed to self-knowledge. What is opposed to self-knowledge? Self-ignorance, right? So karma cannot remove self-ignorance. Karma can give you preparation of mind in order to discover knowledge, self-knowledge. So how, he says here, how to make karma, your actions in life, which are binding in nature at the moment, make them releasing in nature. What does it mean, binding? Bandham means binding, bondage. Bondage to my actions in life means I am always attached to the results. That is the meaning of bondage in texts. Attached to the results means if this does not happen the way I want, I become unhappy, depressed. If things go the way I want, I become happy, elated. Whole of life is like that for everybody, actually. We are going up and down with our emotional reactions due to the results we receive in our life. So here, bondage means you are dependent on the results of actions to dictate your state of happiness. That is what is called bondage. Not just the state of your actions, not just the result of your actions, you are also dependent on the world as a source of your happiness and sorrow. That is called dependency. You're emotionally dependent on the world. So karma yoga is not becoming dependent on the world for happiness. It is doing your activities as a practice. And again, we'll see what he says. I will teach you this. I will teach you a lifestyle which will reduce your dependence on the external world. And he says, it is the means to remove your ignorance. Karma yoga is a means to prepare the mind. The mind has to be in a certain state. The mind, which is the instrument to know, it is the instrument for knowledge to take place, has to be in a certain condition. It has to have certain qualifications for self-knowledge to take place. So he says, buddhya yuktaha, connect to this karma yoga lifestyle. Connect to this art of living. This is the real art of living. Karma yoga lifestyle is the real art of living. And there's a very interesting story in one of the Upanishads, which talks about the importance of seva. So karma yoga is another form of seva, right? Seva is another word, service. You're not really doing service for others. You're doing service to yourself in karma yoga. Service can also be, we think sometimes seva or service is working for free, doing everything for free. So seva is not that. Seva is very much like karma yoga. Seva, you can get remuneration for seva done. There is nothing to say seva is for free. But seva also, as well as karma yoga, are synonyms. That means the attitude has to be correct. It doesn't matter whether money comes your way or not. It is the attitude that is behind the service that is important. So there's a very interesting story in the Chandogya Upanishad, which talks about Virochana, who is the head of the demonic race, and Indra, who is the head of the Devas or the gods. And both are actually sons of Prajapati. So Prajapati is the creator. So it's interesting. The creator has created asuras, demons, as well as gods. So both are actually brother and sister. They go together. Even that is telling, right? You can't have one without another. So Prajapati, he is giving a big discourse on the self. He's giving a discourse in the heavens about the self. He says, it is this self, Atma, is ageless, it's timeless, it's deathless. It does not know any sorrow. And if you gain this self, this knowledge, you will gain everything in all the three worlds. All your desires will be fulfilled in one shot. So they hear this discourse, and what appeals to them? They love that you will be the Lord of the three worlds. You will gain all the three worlds, because the mind is still working on power and pelf, right? Even if they're the gods of the demonic god, or the gods, the head of the gods, they want this promise of all desires being fulfilled at once. So they go to their father, Prajapati, and they approach him and they ask for this knowledge. And it's interesting that he is their father until they ask for the knowledge. When they ask for the knowledge, he turns into their teacher, their guru. So what does he say? So when they ask for the self-knowledge, he says, do seva for 32 years. He doesn't give it immediately. So in those times, they used to make the pupils, the disciples, do service. They used to make them work, work, work. And you can't pick what you want to do. What the guru gives is good for you. That is the attitude. So whatever they were given, 32 years, they did that service. And that service is, again, not looking for the results of their action, but they did what the teacher said. Then after 32 years, they went to him for the teaching, and finally he gives them a teaching. And he says, what is the teaching? Go to, the being that is visible in the pupil of your eye, that is the self. When you look at a reflective surface, see what you see, report to me when you're looking at the reflection in the water. And that being that you see in the pupil of the eye is the self. So they went, both of them, Indra and Virochana, they went to look at themselves in the water. And what did they see? The physical body. They didn't see anything else. The physical body with the hair and the nails and everything. So they went back to Prajapati, the teacher, and said, we saw the self. We saw this physical body. And what did he say? Oh, very good. This is Atma. This is the self, the immortal, fearless self. This is it. So both of them became very happy. Both of them went off very happily. 32 years they did service and they received the teaching. And the head of the demons, Virochana, he was very happy. He told all his people, what you see as reflection, this physical body, mind, senses, is the real self. Don't worry. This is what we have to spend time on. Do yourself, do this body up, do everything, enjoy the pleasures of this body. That's why they became called asuras or demons. Asusu ramante iti asuraha. Those that revel in sense pleasures are the demonic race. So he was quite happy. But this Indra, the lord of the gods, he is very discerning. As he was walking back or going back to his place where all the other gods are, he started thinking, but this body is going to decay. This body is going to go. This body cannot be that which is birthless and deathless. So he discerningly goes back to Prajapati. And why did Prajapati want to fool them? He didn't want to fool them. He wanted to test them. Are they ready to do inquiry? Are they ready to actually question what is real? So this Indra, who is the lord of the gods, went back to Prajapati. Virochana, the lord of the demons, started enjoying all the sense pleasures and the physical bodies. But he went back and said, I don't think this can be the self because it is subject to decay. It is subject to death. It can't be the self. So what does Indra say to him? Do seva for another 32 years. He said, do service for another 32 years. He doesn't give him the knowledge immediately. So like this, that story goes on until he gains all the knowledge. And his mind is prepared. So it is for preparation of mind that the teacher gives actually this work for the students. So here in these next few verses, Lord Krishna does the same thing. He markets this karma yoga lifestyle. And marketing, when you want to market something, you want to praise it. When you have a product you want to sell, you want to first praise it and talk about its great capacity, and then you sell it. So he says in the next verse, what is the karma yoga? What is this karma yoga? He says, Neha bikramana shosti pratyavayo na vidyate swalpamapyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat. So he says, in activities in life, there is a lot of difficulties for everybody. Because the main difficulty is that you may not get the result you desire. That we all know. We do a lot of activities in life and very infrequently we get what we want. Sometimes some people get what they want a lot more than others. But generally, activity, karma, may fail to give you your desired result. Easy example is farming. If you look at farming, especially in India, they have a lot of stress because they sow the seeds and there's so many different varying weather patterns, a lot of factors that affect the crop. You don't know what you're going to get. So here he says, with activity done for result, there is always some kind of pain, some anxiety, some suffering. But in karma yoga, there is no loss. There are no side effects, negative side effects at all. There is nothing in the karma yoga lifestyle that can bring you happiness. So in the next few verses, Krishna starts criticizing activities for results. Because when you act for results, you will be trapped in the cycle of becoming. That is called samsara. When you're doing continuously activity for result, you'll be trapped in that samsaric cycle. And we know very clearly we cannot get always what we want. There are 4 types of results we can get. We can get equal to what we want. We are very happy with that. We can get more than what we expected. We are so happy with more than what we expected. But there are other 2 types of results we find it very difficult to swallow, which is less than what we want and opposite to what we want. When I get less and opposite, that is when the mind reacts even worse. So abhikrama nashaha asti, he's saying, there is no such reaction and thing as failure in the karma yoga lifestyle. There is no such thing as failure. Even failure in karma yoga is perceived as stepping stone to success. Thomas Edison, who developed the first gramophone, he said something very beautiful, because these inventors, they have a lot of things that we perceive as failures. A lot of times they've invented things which have not worked. But he said something very beautiful. He said, I have not failed. I've just found 1,000 ways that don't work. That is the attitude of a karma yogi. I have not failed in life. I've just found ways that don't work. So, pratyavayo na vidyate. You won't get negative results. You won't get this result of omission either. We saw that in the previous verse. By not doing, you get negative results also, because you end up doing what you're supposed not to do, or you just totally abstain from action, but you get papa as well. So pratyavaya dosha, I had said in Sanskrit, it is a technical term. You are not going to suffer from that if you take to karma yoga. Swalpamapyasya dharmasya trayate mahato bhayat, Krishna says. Even adopting this attitude, even for a little time. No, it doesn't mean that I only have to do it for a little time. I have to he's just praising it. I have to follow this lifestyle for a length of time. It is not easy to live this lifestyle. But he says to praise it, even if you take it up in a small way, trayate mahato bhayat, which means it protects you from great fear in life. This lifestyle protects you from great fear. Fear of what? Well, first of all, the greatest fear in life we have is of death. Taking up this karma yoga will definitely protect you from the fear of death ultimately. But we have other fears stemming from the fear of death, is the fear of not being able to control my life. That is a big fear for us. I am not able to decide what is going to happen for me. That is why I worry for future. If I knew what is going to come, will I worry for the future? No. And what do I worry for? Why is the fear for future? Because what I want may not happen, and what I don't want may happen. This is a 2 big fear we have. What I want may not happen, and what I don't want may happen. And that shows that fear, because I want to control, I want to call all the shots in life. Here Krishna is saying, with the karma yoga, a little bit of practice of this karma yoga, you won't be afraid of what is going to happen, because your attachment to the results is given up. The attachment is given up, and we will see how it is given up in the consequent verses, and all of chapter 3 discusses this. Giving up meaning not giving up the expectation, giving up the attachment. There's a difference here. Many times in the Bhagavad Gītā translations, you will read, give up the expectations for result. Expectation is not the right word. We will never act without expectation. The whole reason we act is because we expect a result, right? So Krishna is not saying give up your expectations. He's not saying give up what you want. He's saying give up the attachment to what is going to come to you. That is a very big thing there. Give up that attachment. And in this way, you grow inwardly. you grow emotionally, you grow, your spiritual growth is secured with the lifestyle of karma yoga. So material results in life, if you want material results, there's a lot of effort, a lot of pain, and a lot of things you have to sacrifice to gain material results, and you never know what outcome is going to come. Whereas nishkama karma, which means, nishkama means that literally I don't do it with attachment to results, will make your life stress-free, no tension, no anxiety, no sleepless nights worrying what will happen next. In karma yoga, I am a relaxed person. I start to enjoy the process of activity in the world. See, now activity is a pressure because I'm looking for the result. Here, Krishna's saying, I start enjoying my actions in the world because there's no fear of what the result is going to manifest. So karma in my life, my activities, my actions, karma become karma yoga when I recognize what I really want in life. So that's another aspect that is important. I'm going to spend some time on these verses because this is an important topic. What do I really want in life? That is a must for karma yoga. Otherwise, you won't live with that attitude. So karma yoga is a lifestyle meant for a mumukshu. A mumukshu means one who desires freedom, one who recognizes moksha to be the goal in life. What is moksha? Very briefly, I'm going to talk about it because many of you have had an introduction to Vedanta, but people who have not had the introduction, very briefly, moksha is everything I want in one name, under one heading, moksha. You may read it as liberation from the cycle of birth and death and everything, but we don't really know what, that liberation is. What we understand moksha is that through all my pursuits in life, whatever I'm doing, what is it I'm really looking for? If I want money, do I really want money for money's sake? Suppose right now, I tell you, I'm going to give you £1 million, put it in your bank account, but you cannot spend it. You don't have access to it. So you have money in your account, you have £1 million in your account, but you don't have access to it. Will you enjoy that? No. Why? Because you want to spend the money, you want to use the money for what? For happiness. You want to experience pleasure with the money. Pleasure is, everything is for the sake of happiness. Money is not for its own sake. Actually, many people store money as well. People do store money in the account as a form of security. Security is also for your happiness because you feel, oh, if I have £1 million in my bank account, I will be secure. Again, through all the security you have, it is for your happiness alone. And you don't want, nobody wants happiness that fades away. That's why we hang on to moments of happiness. We don't like this fading away happiness. We resist that, and we're trying to find our way back to having happiness again if happiness starts fading, right? That is what drives our activity. Happiness, my desire is fulfilled. I feel satisfied for some time. I feel happy. Then suddenly that happiness fades. And what happens? Another desire arises for me to discover more happiness. So whole of life is the pursuit of happiness. It is to seek happiness and to run away from sorrow, because sorrow is something which is antithesis of happiness, and I don't want to feel sorrowful. So the one who recognizes what I really want in everything I do in the world, every activity I do, every relationship I have, every situation I experience, I want that pleased self to arise. I want to be happy. That is called mumukshu, that very recognition that you want happiness and you want limitless happiness, not just, 1 week a year or 1 month in a lifetime happiness. You want happiness full time. That becomes a seeker of freedom. So then moksha becomes predominant in your life. And the means to discover that limitless happiness is given in the Gita and other texts. The means is given. And the next verse will really talk about keeping it. For me, personally, I feel it is the most important verse of Bhagavad Gita. That is my personal take on it, because if you don't have this one pointed, the attitude towards the goal that you really want, then nothing else will work. Goal is very important to have. And the next verse shows you should have clarity over what you really seek in life. And here Krishna says, Vyavasayatmika buddhihi ekeha kuru nandana bahushakahyanantascha buddhayo vyavasayinam. So when you know you are looking for moksha, which is limitless happiness, and you are very clear on it. Vyavasayatmika buddhihi means you are totally clear about what you want. And you're totally clear that the world cannot give you what you want. So there's two levels of clarity. You are clear, I want limitless joy, limitless happiness. And I'm very clear, this world until this moment has not been able to give me what I really want in life. Even this Vyavasayatmika buddhi takes years and years to develop, because mind keeps going to external for happiness. We don't know anything else. That's the problem. When we don't know another way to live, we live the way we've always been living, and we are satisfied with the tiny tinsel and trash we get from the world, the limited happiness that we gain. And we are happy to continue like that. Here, the Upanishads say that you are the very source of happiness. That is why a small dose of Upanishad knowledge, a small dose of Atma-jnanam, self-knowledge, will expose you to another understanding of joy, happiness. Even though it is not discovered yet, the Upanishads reveal a potential for you to be happy always, a potential for you to be free from sorrow 24/7. So moksha is very clear. Moksha means I am clear, I want limitlessness and I want that ananda. And in discovering that ananda, I have to prepare the mind. That is revealed also in the text. If I don't have the necessary qualifications of mind, it is very difficult to assimilate knowledge. So there are certain qualifications that the texts talk about, which are very important for mental preparation. Here, Krishna says, Eka. Eka means Eka buddhihi. Vyavasayatmika buddhihi Eka. Unswerving, focused, and, chitta ekagrata means like that magnifying glass, which magnifies the ray of the sun and can create a fire. That type of intellect I should have to see my goal and to understand this is what I want. I keep the target in sight. I don't get distracted in life, because it is sadhya. The choiceless choice is moksha. Choiceless choice means that is what you're looking for anyway. So in Sanskrit, it's given a name, this moksha, but I need clarity regarding the means in order to discover the end. Because to discover one end, you need a certain means. So that is where Krishna says, the means is living this life of karma yoga and not getting distracted. He says here, bahushaka hyanantascha. In the spiritual market, there are umpteen things available. We all know that. Come to Rishikesh, you will definitely discover. Rishikesh is the place for spiritual shopping. If you want to come, I can take you to different places. You can buy lots of things there. Bahushaka, Krishna himself says, in those days also, so many branched, it means too many choices too much confusion in the spiritual life itself. Forget material life. Spiritual life also is so confusing because everybody offers everything. If you want to do, you want to raise your kundalini, okay, some people go for that raising kundalini. You want to open your chakras, that's another thing. You go for opening chakras. There are many things. People say pranayama, you do pranayama, that will also help. You do this one, that will help. So many techniques, so many things, so many gurus, they all have their own things. But here, Krishna is very clear, in this Bhagavad Gita, if Krishna is taken up, his teachings are taken up, he says, it is only a question of self-ignorance. It is not that you have to produce anything new. You are already that. Upanishads reveal that. Tat tamasi means you are that. Upanishads don't say you have to become that. You have to do something in order to discover that. Upanishads never talk in a language of future becoming or future hope. Upanishads are very clear. You are already limitlessness. You are the happiness you seek in life, but you don't know it. So the gap is ignorance. And if the gap is ignorance, standing on your head doing Shirasasana for 3 hours is not going to remove ignorance. Doing pranayama, all of these things are good, by the way. We are not criticizing any of the techniques. They help purify the mind. But any of the techniques cannot have access to knowledge because it is ignorance that is the gap. Only knowledge can bridge the gap. So all of the techniques that we have are excellent to prepare the intellect. But inquiry, self-inquiry is the key to self-knowledge. So he says, avyavasayinam, there are many people who have notions, they don't have clarity. And for them, the anantascha, the ends are limitless ends. Ends are limitless to be accomplished. So 1 minute, they will be going after one thing for a while, and maybe that's not working, so they'll go after something else. So the ends become limitless. Countless ends are there. Buddhayo avyavasayinam, for the people who are non-discriminative. They are not able to see what they really want in life. So it is a very important verse here. Bhagavan says, be clear, gain that clarity. Examine your life. What is it you really want? The karmas, he says, karmas are prompted by desires. For even spiritual, experience is also a desire. But if you see, many people go into spiritual life for experiences. And we have umpteen texts that describe, I had vision of Bhagavan, or I saw some light, or I felt something, I heard some music. You can read so many books about people who have experiences. But experience is also within samsara. Why? It is coming and going. When you have an experience, does it last forever? No. You come out of the experience and then you want to re-experience. So you do more activity for another experience. Again, you're trapped in spiritual samsara. Whether you're trapped in material samsara or spiritual, you're still trapped in samsara. So he says here, for fulfillment in this life, seeking fulfillment in this life through all of these processes will not help. And also, they're not going to help in your spiritual progress. Some people look even for afterlife. So he talks here, yamimam pushpitam vacham pravadantya vipaschitaha vedavadaratav partha nanyadastiti vadinaha. The next verse is read along with this. Kamatmana swarga paraha janma karma phala pradam kriya vishesha bahulam bhogaishwarya gatim prati. So here, Krishna, this is culturally again, we have to adapt it to modern days. What is he really talking about? Vedavadaha rataha. Vedavadaha rata means those people who revel in statements of the Veda. So we have to understand what the statements of the Veda are. The initial portion of the Vedas, which is the text for, Hindus or Sanatana Dharma, they talk about various rituals to gain various results. So that is called karma kanda. There's a huge body of rituals and results, like a potion book. You have these potion books. You want this, you do this potion, you get this. So here you have this, you do this puja, you get this result. You want money, you do this fire ritual, you get this result. So in those days, people they're called karmatas. They used to spend all their time working for results by doing certain rituals. But today's day, what Krishna would say is that people who are committed to material ends, people who are committed to material pursuits. When I talk about material, I mean results that are fading in time. They don't last forever. So actions for them is life. Actions in life is life for them. They don't know anything else. These are Veda Rataha. They quote these, these rituals. They quote the importance of gaining these results. Imam pushpitam vacham pravadanti. And, it's very interesting that this can be adapted to modern day, because it's very true. And even in those days, Krishna is saying that they have very good oration. They can talk very nicely. They can convince everybody. Pushpitam vacham means flowery words. We have enough people that we know. They can talk very well. They use flowery words. Even on YouTube, you think, wow, they're right. But again, we have to have a discerning mind. Just because somebody has 1 million followers doesn't mean they're right? Swami Dayananda always used to say that just because somebody's popular doesn't make them right. Be careful when you go for popularity. Check, use your intellect, see what are they saying. So the people who say, do this, you'll gain that, these are the people who Krishna's talking about. They can talk very nicely. They can they can convince others as well. Avipashtitaha means people are there who don't see clearly, who are also carried away by these words. They're dragged away. They're called avivekinaha, people who have no discriminative capacity to see what is temporary and what is permanent. So that first qualification in Vedanta to understand this knowledge, to assimilate the knowledge, is called vivekaha. Vivekaha is that power that has been given to every human being, the vivekaha to discriminate between one thing and another. And here it is a specific, it is not like racial discrimination, not like gender discrimination. This is a discriminative analysis, specific. What is permanent in life? What is temporary? We can see very clearly what is temporary, but permanence is revealed. The permanent is revealed in, again, Upanishads, which become a means of knowledge for that discovery. But here Krishna is saying, avivekanaha, most people are too attached to doing, result. And there are enough people in the public who speak very flowery words, and they will convince others, do this for this result, do that for that result. That is what he's talking about. Even in those days, people get pushed off the correct path because they get convinced wrongly. So pravadanti means such people who are also confused, like the blind leading the blind. There's a very nice cartoon, of the blind leading the blind, and there's, they're walking off a cliff. I remember that cartoon. So here, pravadanti means that they spread their philosophy to everybody, but, and people, non-thinking people, take up their philosophy, but then they don't have any clarity in life. Again, one lifetime gets wasted. They go off without understanding. Nanyat astiti vadinaha. Such people are not interested in higher pursuits of inquiry. What is it that I'm really after? If such people are happy, eat, drink, and make merry types, we only have this one life. Let us eat, drink, work, 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 whole 5-day week. Weekends, let's go to the pub, let's get drunk, let's sleep in, let us have a good time. That type of, enjoyment. And they call kamat, kamat manaha. They're embodiments of people absorbed in sense pleasures. So they're not interested in spiritual life, but they will convince everybody this is the way forward. This is enjoy life. Don't worry about anything. And there's a huge list that they will have of things to fulfill in their lives. So this is very, practically whole of humanity in whichever country we're from fits into this list, right? So these people are not just interested in that pleasure fulfillment here in this planet, Swarga Paraha, they are after pleasures in afterlife also. So there are people who do things in this life to gain pleasures in afterlife. And that's very interesting because some notions or some ideas of heaven, they promise so many things. And I don't want to go into, but it comes originally from Veda, but there are many uh, schools of thought that promise a lot after you go to that heaven. So these people are non-thinking. They're committed to limited ends and tempting pleasures, think only of future. And Kriya Vishesha Bahulam, they cannot stop doing. So they're doing in order to become. That is called samsara. Doing in order to become. Doing because I'm not happy as I am. I have to become happy. Become happy is already a symptom of samsara, that happiness becoming. So they gain things, they want things, they dream of things, and they tell other people also how to do it, and other people follow. So Krishna is saying very, very, very strongly, he's saying Janma Karma Phala Pradam. They want future birth, which is also very, very, enticing towards them, very nice. They feel very good about it. So the next verse also, he goes on to say, Bhogeshwarya prasaktanam taya pahrita chetasam vyavasayatmika buddhihi samadho na vidhiyate. Bhogeshwarya prasaktanam, the people who are interested in pleasure and power in this world. They are only focused on artha, which is security, and kama, pleasures. Their mind is committed to discovering this only. Taya pahrita chetasam, their desires keep multiplying. They can't stop. Once they fulfilled one desire, what happens? Another one is already ready to come up. So he's really showing what happens when we get stuck in this kind of lifestyle where we're looking for always short-term pleasure. See, Vedānta is not short-term happiness. Sometimes this spiritual life can be very difficult. Spiritual life can be painful, but it is, somebody beautifully said, spiritual life is like poison at the beginning, but nectar at the end. Material life is like nectar at the beginning, poison at the end. Now, each one has to see whether that applies, but it is investment, spiritual life, spiritual, working on oneself, living a life of karma yoga, which is very tough. It is not easy. Bringing in, because, there's one of the questions tomorrow, somebody has asked something like that. We will discuss it further, but it is something that you invest for your long-term future. So doing what is to be done now, you are not interested in quick gains. You're not interested in quick results. Even if the gain is another life, Krishna will go on to say in chapter 6, nothing that you have done in this life is wasted. All the sadhana and all the practices you have done to gain that purity of mind is not wasted, because he says, if you die off, Arjuna also gets that doubt. What if I die off? I'm not here. I've got one foot in the world and one foot in spiritual path. What if I die off like this, oh Lord? Krishna says, I will give you a good birth in next life. I will give you a conducive situation where you can pick up the thread and you will bring in all that you have done in this life. It is going to be in your bank account, in your storage. So you will definitely take forward all the practices you have done. So nothing is wasted. Taya pahrita chetasam. They're robbed away by desires. They are robbed away with this type of life. And vyavasayatmika buddhihi na vidyate. They are not focused at all. There's no clarity over the goal, what they want. They remain trapped in desire fulfillment. Desire fulfillment is a very interesting thing because desires will never allow you to be calm and peaceful. And that's what Krishna says. Samadau na vidyate. You will never get the peace of mind when you are involved in desire fulfillment. The very desire arises in the mind. Why? Because of avidya. So Adi Shankaracharya beautifully says there is a triple knot of ignorance in everybody. He calls it the triple knot of ignorance. The first knot is avidya, self-ignorance. Because the original knot is avidya, self-ignorance, because you don't know who you are. You don't know yourself as a complete, limitless being. And because you don't know yourself to be a complete, limitless being, the meaning of satisfaction, the next knot is immediately produced, which is kama, desire. Desire arises only to fulfill yourself. Because you don't know yourself as already fulfilled, when desire arises, what is it that we do immediately? Oh, I need that. I want that. I have to gain it because I'm not happy as I am right now. The mind tricks us into thinking by fulfilling the desire, I will be totally satisfied, right? That's why I go after fulfilling the desire. It is a trick of the mind. Be careful, watch it. Now with the class, you can be more aware. Then the next knot, the third knot is what? Karma. Avidya kama karma. He says so beautifully. Self-ignorance leads to desires. Desires will drive you into activity in life. Because of that desire fulfillment, you go into activity. Then what happens? Same cycle. Self-ignorance, desire, and activity. This is called the triple knot of ignorance. And can I come out of it by getting rid of desires? See, you hear in books, get rid of all your desires. Eradicate desires. That's why we never talk about getting rid of desires. You cannot get rid of desires until you've addressed the root problem, which is avidya. Nobody can eradicate desires. So that sentence in spiritual literature, get rid of all your desires, is erroneous if you question. Desires will be there as long as you have self-ignorance. It is a natural consequence, symptom of self-ignorance. So desires we can never get rid of. But what Krishna is telling us here is, you don't need to get rid of desires. Transmute your desires. That's the beauty of Karma Yoga. Transmute your desires into one all-consuming desire for moksha. That all-consuming desire for moksha will outweigh all the big list that is there. And you can go on fulfilling that list if you have. You can't force the desire out of your mind. If it is there and it needs to get fulfilled, Bhagavan says there's no harm in fulfilling your desires, but do it in accordance with dharma and do it with also the knowledge that it is not going to give you full satisfaction. If any desire that we have fulfilled in our lives, if we look back at our lives, any desires that we fulfilled have made us fully satisfied, what should we be doing right now? We will be sitting quietly, peacefully, happy with ourselves, like Ramana Maharishi sitting on Arunachala mountain in a loincloth. He is totally satisfied, nothing to be done, and reveling in himself. Atmanyevatmana tushtaha. One who revels in the self the one who is the form of happiness, there is nothing to be done. But even if you're not like Ramana, you can be active in the world, still doing. Swami Dayananda used to say, it is only a change of preposition. Beautifully used to say, once in ignorance, we act for happiness. In ignorance, we act for happiness. In knowledge, we act out of happiness. So a wise person will act out of happiness, not for happiness. So with that, we will move on to the other verses discussing karma yoga. He brings in limitations of activity first. Then he goes on to praise and to show us a way of life, which is in fact beautiful. Even if self-knowledge is not discovered in this life, if you can discover joy in living karma yoga, you can absolve yourself of all stress and strain and all discomfort while acting in the world. So we'll see that next time. And tomorrow we'll have the Q&A. Please do come. It's very nice to, these Q&As are very popular. I've done them many times in the past, and people enjoy having the interaction. And you get a lot of clarity through other people's doubts also. So we will meet tomorrow. Today, let us just chant those verses. Would anybody like to unmute and chant? Nobody? Then I'll have to pick somebody. Neeru. Yeah. I was going to pick you anyway. Yeah. Okay. We'll start with our 39th verse. Esha te bihita sankhye.
Esha te bihita sankhye. Esha te bihita sankhye.
Buddhir yoge tvimam shrunu.
Buddhir yoge tvimam shrunu. Buddhir yoge tvimam shrunu.
Buddhya yukto yaya partha.
Buddhya yukto yaya partha. Buddhya yukto yaya partha.
Karma bandham prahasyasi.
Karma bandham prahasyasi. Karma bandham prahasyasi.
Neha bhikramanashosti.
Neha bhikramanashosti. Neha bhikramanashosti.
Pratyavayo na vidyate.
Pratyavayo na vidyate. Pratyavayo na vidyate.
Swalpamapyasya dharmasya.
Swalpamapyasya dharmasya. Swalpamapyasya dharmasya.
Trayate mahato bhayat.
Trayate mahato bhayat. Trayate mahato bhayat.
Vyavasayatmika buddhihi.
Vyavasayatmika buddhihi. Vyavasayatmika buddhihi.
Ekeha kuru nandana.
Ekeha kuru nandana. Ekeha kuru nandana.
Bahushakahyanantascha.
Bahushakhahayantascha. Bahushakhahayantascha.
Hyanantascha.
Hayantascha.
No, hyanantascha.
Hyantascha.
No, hyanantascha.
Hayanantascha.
Don't worry. You can practice with the recording. Here, it's difficult. Hyanantascha. You can split these big words. Hyanantascha.
I'll practice.
Hyanantascha, it is a bit of a tongue twister. Bahushaka hyanantascha buddhayo vyavasayinam.
बहुशाखाययन्ताश्च बुद्ध्यो व्यवसायिनाम्
Buddhayo,
बहुशाखाययन्ताश्च बुद्ध्यो व्यवसायिनाम्
buddhayo vyavasayinam.
बुद्धयो व्यवसायिनाम्
Yeah. Yamimam pushpitam vacham.
यामिमां पुष्पितां वाचं यामिमां पुष्पितां वाचं
Pravadantya vipaschitaha.
प्रवदन्त्यविपश्चिताः प्रवदन्तय विपश्चिताः
Paschitaha.
पश्चितः पश्चितः
Vedavadaratav partha.
वेदवादरतः पार्थ वेदवादरतः पार्थ
Nanyadastiti vadinaha.
नान्यदस्तीति वादिनाः नान्यदस्तीति वादिनाः
Vadinaha.
वादिनः
Kam.
वादिनः
Kamatmana swargaparaha.
कामात्मानः स्वर्गपराः कामात्मानः कामात्मानः स्वर्गपराः.
So you add, if you have the text with you, where I chant the ha extra, it should be added when chanting. So it is missing in the text that is sent because of Sanskrit Sandhi rule. So it is written like this, but when you chant, you have to bring in the visarga, which is the double colon. Kamatmana swarga paraha.
कामात्मानः स्वर्गपराः कामात्मानः स्वर्गपराः
Janma karma phalapradam.
जन्म कर्म फलप्रदाम् जन्म कर्म फलप्रदाम्
Kriya vishesha bahulam.
क्रिया विशेष बहुलाम् क्रिया विशेष बहुलाम्
Bhogaishwarya gatim prati.
भोगैश्वर्य गतिं प्रति भोगैश्वर्य गतिं प्रति
Bhogaishwarya prasaktanam.
भोगैश्वर्य प्रसक्तानां भोगैश्वर्य प्रसक्तानां
Taya pahrita chetasam.
तया तया पहरित चेतसां तया पहरित चेतसां
Vyavasayatmika buddhihi.
व्यवसायात्मिका बुद्धिः व्यवसायात्मिका बुद्धिः
Samadho na vidiyate.
समाधौ न विधीयते समाधौ न विधीयते.
Very nice. I'll send the verses. Please do practice. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramayah Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukha Bhag Bhavet Asato Ma Satgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. Hari Om. See you all tomorrow. Very happy Ganesh Chaturthi to all. Today is a special day in India and also for Indians abroad. It is the birth of Lord Ganesha, who is the Vigna Raja. He is the Lord of obstacles. He puts them there in our lives, but he is also Vigna Harta. He removes them also. So he's got twofold task. Putting them there, he takes them away also. And whoever would like to stay, you can listen. We will chant Ganapati, the Ganesha, Sankata Nashana Ganesha Stotram. We have sent to the group. And whoever can chant, you can chant along with me. We pray for all obstacles in our spiritual life, in any endeavor to be eradicated for us so we can reach our goal. Om Śrīnārada Uvacha Pranamya Shirasa Devam Gauri Putram Vinayakam Bhaktavasam Smare Nityam Ayuh Kamartha Siddhaye Pratamam Vakratundancha Ekadantan Dvitiyakam Tritiyam Krishna Pingaksham Gajavaktran Chaturthakam Lambodaram Panchamancha Shashtam Vikatamevacha Saptamam Vignarajancha Dhumravarnan Tatashtamam Navamam Bhalachandrancha Dashamantu Vinayakam Ekadasham Ganapatim Dvadashantu Gajananam Dvadashaitani Namani Trisandyam Yaf Pathenaraha Nacha Vignavayantasya Sarvasiddhikaram Prabho Vidyarthi Labate Vidyam Dhanarthi Labate Dhanam Putrarthi labate putran, moksharthi labate gatim, japet ganapati stotram, shatbirma saif phalam labhet, samvatsarena siddhincha, labhate natra samshayaha, ashtabhyo brahmanebhyascha, likitva yas samarpayet, Tasya vidya bhavet sarva Ganeshasya prasadataha Om iti Shri Narada Purane Sankatanashana Ganesha Stotram Sampurnam Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha 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 Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Namaste all. Hari Om. Have a wonderful obstacle-free day ahead.